Okay, today I'm going to do things a little bit differently to the way I normally do it. I'm actually going to try and record the whole of my creative process. Okay, this is for the April challenge for the Crafty Hands blog challenge. Okay, it goes live on the 7th of every month. So, we're going to start from the beginning. I'll explain what I've got. Scissors, scalpel, cosmic shimmer glue. This one I like because not only does it dry clear, but it dries matte. A lot of PVA based glues dry with a sheen. This one actually dries matte, so you really don't see this one. It's got one of those fine tips on the end of it, so that's really good. And in this little bottle here, I have the Kalal all-purpose glue, again with one of the fine tips on the end of it, so I really am quite precise with what I do. I've got a sanding block, which I'm going to need. I have got the most beautiful buttons, if you can see these. These are absolutely gorgeous. I have got some more of different things on the way, but these are wooden buttons and they are absolutely beautiful. I have an 8x8 Embossalicious embossing folder. Okay. I have 5 sheets that I have printed off the Springtime Garden Crafty Hands CD. So I've got a decoupage set. That one's on photo because I want the topper to pop. Then I have one on matte card, okay, which is the base. I have the insert panel off the CD. I have a ladybird backing paper off the CD and a blue gingham off the CD. I've got a nice sheet of acetate. I've got some gold mirri, okay, and a piece of pearlised textured, and I don't know how well the camera's going to pick this up. It's a blue embossed, textured, pearlised A3 piece of card, okay, and then the hoagie is underneath here, which is all nice and clean and freshly marked. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to create a 7x7 card base, or maybe even 7.5, so I'm going to score at 7.5. Okay, let's fold. I always fold on the hoagie because I push the edge so that I get a completely, what I call a square fold. You know, sometimes you end up a little bit off when you fold. But as you can see on the edge of that, they are actually spot on, which is why I use the edge of the hoagie to do this. Right, grab the paper trimmer. Bear with me a minute. Here's my paper trimmer. Okay, so I'm going to cut this off at 7.5. Give myself 7.5 by 7.5 card base. Let's see. Yep. There we go. Then, let's straighten that. Thank you. Right. Then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut from this corner to that corner, because I don't want those corners. So, line it up. And chop. But I am not throwing this piece away, okay, because I am going to use that to back the inside, like that, okay. So, move the other pieces. What I want to do now is take my 8x8 embossing folder and my acetate, and I am going to run this through the e-bosser. So let's get rid of various bits that we don't need. Make sure that's nice and straight. Turn it on. Okay, let's run that through. Okay, so now you can see what that 8-inch folder has done to this piece of acetate. So it's really very pretty actually. Okay, so let's get rid of those. Now, just to add a little bit more, although this is quite nice, I'm just umming and ahhing now. Do I or don't I? Do you know what? I'm not going to. This is given a good emboss, okay, which is why it's turned white. Normally what I would do is I would then sand off the top surface to make it even more white, but I think by doing that I'm going to lose quite a bit of definition on this piece. So, I'm not going to sand it, so we'll put that one back away. Right, what I want to do now is trim this piece of acetate. So, let's remove these pieces carefully without sticking yourself to it. Now, there will be some glue comes through, and that's another reason why I prefer to do it this way. Alright, come on. No, you're playing silly devils with me now. I've done this umpteen times. Come on, straighten. but the e-bosser tends to squish the glue around and give you a really, really good seal. Okay, so there is my card base. Finally, it took a bit of doing, didn't it? Right, so what I want to do first is find the insert sheet, which is this one here, okay? And this is going to sit inside the blue base. But let's line it up so it's nice and straight. It is obviously going to require a bit of trimming. What I want to do now is actually remove this image here from the backing paper. So, give me my scissors. So, go around that bit. Now, when I'm cutting, I don't know if you can see the angle that I've actually got my scissors at. And when I'm cutting decoupage, or anything that's going to be layered on top of something else, I do tend to cut at this sort of 45-degree angle. I find that it allows me to reduce the amount of white edge showing, and makes doing things like inking the edges a lot easier, because you haven't got as much to work with. I must admit, I do find inking the edges to be a bit of an issue, especially on fiddly little bits of decoupage. One top, which is going to go on there, like that. I want a mat for this, and I can see that my cutting's not perfect now. Bit better. Right. So I want a mat, but I don't want to mat the butterflies as such. I just want to mat the topper. Now, do I want... Yes, I do want gold. I was just umming and ahhing then. I'm taking gold because of the wheel. And ordinarily, with blue, I would use silver, not gold. But, as the wheel in that is more of a goldy tone, that's why I've used gold instead of silver. Right. There's my mat for that. Let's trim up around that piece there. That butterfly wing is not quite right. Okay. So, there's my topper to go onto there. Yep, that's perfect. And that is then going to go on there. But, what I also want to do before I start doing that is I want to add a piece of this. Okay, so let's chop that up. I want a piece of this. And I'm just wondering whether to put it onto some gold to lift it off the blue a little bit, which I think I will. That piece of gold isn't. So, that should give me a layer for that one, which is then going onto there. And then this is going to go onto there, like that. Okay, so I've got those layers done. So the next layer to do now is going to be the inside, which I want to use the gear. Piece here has got the decoupage on, so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pause this now and cut out the decoupage, because you really don't want to see me cut out decoupage, which is going to be really... Okay, there's one thing I'd like to say. When doing decoupage like this, okay, if you look at this image here, I don't know if you can see, that's actually got background in the spokes of the wheels. This one didn't, okay? Now, when I first started crafting, I didn't think about it very well, okay? So what I would do is I would actually cut around the outside first, and then go in and try and remove these little bits. And what I found was that doing it that way actually meant that these pieces can be very, very fine. I mean, alright, this is quite a large piece, but on some, the pieces that you need to cut out are very, very small. If you cut out the outside first, you're actually weakening the entire structure, especially if you've got things like tiny little things very close to the edge, like flower stems and things like that. You're actually weakening it. So if you cut out the inside pieces first, like I've done here, and then go round and cut the outside out, you stand more chance of actually keeping your pieces intact on the inside. Okay, so it was just one little tip that I thought I'd better just mention. And instead of using an ordinary craft knife, you may have noticed that I actually use a scalpel. Okay, this is the wrong blade for me, because it's a pointed blade and I actually want the rounded blade. I have, basically, if I can do it this way, let's see, very bendy fingers. Alright, they bend backwards quite easily, and yes, they do curve like that. That is my actual finger being bent back. But because my fingers bend backwards, I use too much pressure. So I have a very nasty habit of actually taking off this very fine point on the edge of a blade. Alright, there are scalpels out there which have got a curved blade, which is what I'm after. But I have got 100 of these to get through first before I can even get to that point. So I go through an awful lot of blades. Alright, scalpels seem to be becoming more and more popular, in craft especially. This is from Amazon. It's a Swan Morton one, and with the handle you get 5 or 10 blades, and then you can buy boxes of 100 blades, and they just slip on over here and lock in position. They do not ping off, so don't worry about them flying around the room, because that's not going to happen, okay? It's just, this is, I find, the best for me, and if you have issues using a pair of scissors or an ordinary craft knife and you keep breaking the blooming tips off, I know they say go over it umpteen times, but yes, if you're worried about the knife falling out your fingers, then that's an issue, isn't it? So these are available off Amazon very, very cheaply, and probably other craft shops as well, and I know Rob Adams uses this. So now I'm going to go back to cutting out my decoupage. Alright, these are my 2 layers of decoupage here, okay? They obviously need to go one on top of the other, there, which is going on top of that. But if I show you this first, you might get an idea of what I'm talking about. See the glossiness there? Okay, that's what I was after for this topper part, okay? It makes it pop that little bit more, alright? So that's why I've done that way. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to start by gluing this together. See the white drops that I've put on top. Now, when those dry, they are going to be raised and clear and look like dew. Okay? It doesn't work if you use the Cosmic Shimmer one, and it won't really work if you use that one either. A lot of this glue is about evaporation. Okay? A lot of this glue evaporates, that's what causes the bond. This one's acrylic based, but it's a matte finish, so you're not going to get the effect. I have got some swirls here, which I'm going to use a quickie glue pen, and I'm just going to draw over them and throw some clear glitter over it. So there you go. One very pretty little card. The theme is to do with nature. And the CD that this came from was the Spring Garden CD, which is an old one. It's 2011, but I do believe that you can still buy it at the Crafty Hands workshop. All the items on here, apart from this little heart and the glitter, have come from the CD. Okay, and there we go. There's my sentiment, and there's the back of the card there. Okay, so I hope you like it. Let me know what... take that out of my mouth first. Let me know what you think of this whole video, if it's been of any help to you, but I think in future that this is how I'm going to do it, because I think it might be easier for me to actually do it this way. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and hope to catch you soon. Bye.